Hey everyone, and welcome to part 5, the final part of this epic build of Dragon's Stug 3 LCD by Canone. In this video we'll look to finish off the model with weathering techniques using oils and pigments, etc. Just one thing to tie up loose ends from the last video. I forgot to mention the decals, or in my case I always try to use masks, because basically this, if I show you here, this is the decals that came with the model, and if you look at everybody else's model, they're going to have a combination of these markings on there. So it's always best to try and create individuality within your builds. So using the stencils and the mask, I just put on the cross and the C, which was representative of the research material that I was using. On here we have the markings as well. Fortunately for me, the insignia for the company, it was actually on this particular part of the fender, so I've got away with not having to design that and cut that out, so that was good. Again, we have the C and the cross on that side, and as seems to be standard for this part, for this time of the history, it was the cross and the C on the back as well. So that's all done. Like I said before, we've had 2 coats of matte varnish put on there. So now what we need to do is to make this very dark Stug extremely light, because we're going to cover it all in dust. So the first thing we're going to do is add a filter. Create my own filters. Here I'm going to be using 3 different ones, all from 502 Abteilung. So this one is buff. That will go on the very higher areas of the Stug. Then we have light mud, and that's what I will use on all of the lower hull. And then finally we have dust, and that will be used on all of the vertical edges around the top of the hull. Basically just mix it up. I go for 1 part oil to 9 parts thinner, and apply with a filbert brush, and make sure that you put it all on evenly. You don't want any build up of oil in the recesses or anything like that. So take your time, put it on carefully, and we'll start the lightening up process. One thing I forgot to mention with the filters is once you've applied all of the filters and you've brushed it all out, so on the vertical planes, just use an up and down motion to start the effect of streaking. Once that's done, just add a little bit more oil into one of your filter pots, just to thicken up just a little bit. And then what I've done is gone around and just done the first layer of splattering, just to start the layering process really. Breaks up the contrast of the black quite well, as you can see, and also we start to get some dust effects on the lower hull as well. Now yes, I understand that the majority of that will be lost in the rest of the oil process, but some of it will stay and it will look very effective. So let's start having a look at oils. On this build I'm going to do all of the lower hull first, because it's a very awkward model to pick up without, as you can see, without causing any damage and prints all over the paint and oil work. So what we'll do is that I'll start applying pigments along the bottom, along with oils, pigments, then oils, pigments, and basically just build up a pattern of shadows and lighting effects, and also to enhance the dusty look. As you can see from the preliminary mud work, it's come out very well indeed. Very pleased with the rain marks and the blending in of the lower mud to the upper mud. And what we'll do now is start the shading process on all of the suspension and the support wheel holders. So I'm halfway through doing the lower hull now, and everything's going very well indeed. Controversially, what I'm going to be doing now is covering this in a layer of matte varnish. I know a lot of you out there don't like putting your matte varnish on because you think it dulls all the weathering effects. but for me it binds everything together as far as the pigments go. Any loose pigments will stay where they are. And don't forget, I'm only halfway through the process, so there's still lots more oil work and streaking and splashes to be done. But the use of pigments is now complete, so I'm happy to get this all sealed in. So the lower hull is now complete with all of the oil work. Very pleased with the final outcome. I'll do some close-up photos for you as well. Now when you're doing the lower hull, try and break up the colours. As you can see on this end, the suspension's somewhat darker than it is on this side. And this particular side, if we look on the other side, there we go, this side is a lot darker than the other side, just to give a bit of difference, bit of interest, but again the principles are all the same. So what we now need to do is to have a look at the wheels. Now if you remember in the last video I gave you some pointers on how to improve the overall look of your wheels, and that doesn't change at all when we come to the oils and the pigment work. I will put some stills up at the end so you can see clearly how these have all come out. And really what you're after is individuality, so there's a difference in wheels all the way around, and this is done by using different coloured washes, different coloured pigments, varying the amount of pigments and washes on there, and really just to give that individuality to each of the wheels. Now also on the back, don't forget you need to colour in where the tracks create wear, so that's all been silvered there. If we actually have a look at the back wheels as well, that's been done on the back wheels. And don't forget, anybody who's looking at your model from underneath, they're going to see the back of the wheels, so you have to make sure that you do the same weathering process on the backs of the wheels as well. Now we also have the sprockets. These are very simply done with, let's just move that out of the way. These were simply done with different types of washes, which were then blended in, and then it's a matter of utilising the splatter mark techniques. Use a very dilute mixture first to create the wet surface, and then add on the slightly finer splashes afterwards, and then just don't touch it, leave it to dry, and you'll get a nice effect as I have done on that one. And again with the sprockets on the reverse, again using the splatter marks. Again, don't forget to do your wear on the rear idler and on the back there as well. So they're nearly now complete. What will happen now is that I'll put these all back on to, or actually put the two halves together to make one wheel, add them to the Stug, and then what I'll do is get some of the engine grease and engine oil and just do a few little dribbles here and there, which I'm sure you're fully familiar with, and then we can make a start halfway through them, finish off the tracks. So all the shading and lighting work's been done with the oils and pigments now. Very pleased with the way it's turned out. As you can see, what you need to do is to build contrast into your colours. So for example, on the fenders there and on the top of the hull, it's a lot lighter than the back end and the front end, where you're going to be getting most of the muck. And I particularly like the back end here with the exhausts. It's a lovely contrast with the rust colours against all the dirt colours as well. As you can see, there's a variety there of colours on the wheels. And then if we work our way round to the front, I'm not particularly good at oil and fuel stains, but I did 2 this time just to give myself a bit of practice. I think the one on the left turned out better than the other ones, but overall not too bad at all. And as you can see, this side is a lot darker than this side, purely and simply because there's no mud guard there, so therefore you're going to be getting a lot more dirt. As far as the gun in the middle goes, I didn't add any pigments there at all, because again I wanted that contrast. So yeah, all in all, very pleased with that, how that's turned out. So what we're now going to do is come to the final stage, which is the stage that I like the best, is where we actually dress the vehicle. Here we're going to be adding obviously all the missing parts, and also adding a lot more extra detail, so we can tell the story and make this model stand out from the crowd. Okay, so we've gone from a bare Stug to a completely fitted out Stug now. So let's go through some of the areas that may be of interest to you. We'll start with the broken headlight at the front. That was achieved using liquid chrome. It's an ideal pen that's made by Modellbau. Highly recommend that. As you can see also at the front here, done a lot of rust tones using oils and pigments, and that's come out very well indeed. It was nice to open up the hatches again and have a look inside. It's been a while. I think it's been closed up now for a good month. You'll also see that I've added some dark steel pigments to some of the edges, just to give that sort of worn effect as well. And also you'll see some debris here and there, and also some sort of leaves and that sort of stuff. That's using Jarvis's terrain. Highly recommend. They do a lot of choices with sort of grit and sand and leaves as well. So I try not to put too much on, just so that you can get the odd hint here and there, and gives the impression of being there. Tow ropes, they came out very nicely, just lots of different washes, rust washes, dark washes. One thing I will say with tow ropes is I see so many models where it's just stuck up in the air. Tow ropes weigh quite a lot, so you know, you've got to understand that they can't defy gravity, and they do need to be rested down on the fenders, on the tank itself. The side spare wheel here, yes, it is stuck on, but in reality what would have happened, the Germans would have welded a plate on the side with a spike coming out, and then they'd stick the spare wheel on there. And if you remember, I've just scratch built the catch there. Again, used some dark steel pigments on there to highlight that, so that came out really well. As for the jack, well, they come in a variety of colours. I know there's a lot of discussion about what colour they should be, but it's really up to you. I personally decided to go for the rusty look on this particular build. I'm very pleased with how that's turned out. As you can see, the main purpose of this Stug was to carry all of the fuel cans. If you're interested on how I paint and where the fuel cans, just have a look on the tutorial section of my channel. I used pie tin foil to make the straps, and then I actually used some buckles there from the spares drawers, and that's come out very nice indeed. Again, you can see it a lot better if you're actually here looking at the model, but you do get quite a lot of interior for your buck, so I'm really pleased how that's turned out. and again, all of the detailing here has come out very nicely indeed. So very pleased with how that's all worked. So coming around to the back, we've got the Value Gear resin crate, just painted up in the usual fashion. Coming around again, we have the toe ropes. The back mud guard's extremely fragile, kept falling off all the time. So in the end I just gave up and stuck them on at the end, but that's all gone in nicely as well. And also those exhausts, for me probably the highlight of the actual build. And as you can see on the right hand side, there's a little chain coming down there for the smoke canisters. If you look on reference material of Stugs, they like to carry as many spare wheels as they possibly can, and one way they would do it was actually turn the back wheel upside down, and that allowed me to put the bucket in, a few leaves in the bottom there, and the obligatory rag as well. The radio mast and the radio cable came out really well. I'll do some close-ups because the camera isn't too good at going in close, but I think you can just see some of the green shading there to depict the fact that it's made of wood. And obviously we have all the tools here. The barrel cleaner caused me no end of problems, but we got there in the end. And again, as you can see, the tow rope lying down there. There's a little add-on there, which was the hammer through the lifting hooks. Came across that on one of the reference photos and decided to use that. If we go back on the other side, again, you also have the S clamp there as well, which was on a similar photo. So yeah, there we go. Very pleased indeed. It's been quite a few months getting this model done. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I really appreciate all your support and following along with this build. What I'll do now is leave you with a short video and some close-up stills, and it just remains to say thanks very much indeed for your continued support of my channel and all of your subscriptions, and I look forward to seeing you on my next project. So happy modelling.